Once upon a time, in the vibrant village of Zaria, there lived a beautiful princess named Amina. Her skin was smooth as the finest silk, and her eyes sparkled like the stars in the night sky. Amina's beauty was known far and wide, and many rich suitors came to ask for her hand in marriage. But Amina was proud and arrogant. She believed her beauty made her better than everyone else. When the suitors came, she would laugh at them and send them away with harsh words. "You are not worthy of my beauty," she would say. "Go away and never come back." This behavior from the princess made the men very unhappy. Amina's beauty has gotten into her head. Whenever she walked through the village market square, she would order all the villagers to bow their heads as she is passing. "You all are not fit to behold my great beauty," she would say to them, "and anyone who dares as much as to peep at her will immediately dance to the music." And the news of the princess' beauty as well as her arrogance soon spread throughout the kingdom. And surprisingly, this rumor about the princess actually triggers the interest of more men from far and wide. Sons of wealthy king and rich merchants. Each came with different strategies and tactics to win the princess for themselves. Some came with precious stones of great value, while others came with rare exotic perfume from far east, while others came with rare purple fabric to present before the princess. Such a display of wealth that has not been seen in Zaria before. But obviously, Princess Amina was not moved by any of this love and affection, much to the surprise and disbelief of everyone. There was even a time a very wealthy prince came from a distant land. Having heard of Amina's great beauty, he too came to ask for Amina's hand in marriage, but was met with a rude shock. Amina was very rude towards him. She ordered him to leave the palace at once, but then the prince lingered, trying to express his love for her.
Amina, see, I love you so much. I'm incomplete without you. Please, please.
Amina couldn't even wait for him to finish confessing his great love for her. She ran into her chambers, took a pot of water and poured it on him, much to the dismay of the prince and everyone around. Princess Amina continued this her bad behavior until something happened that would change the course of her life completely. The princess suddenly fell sick, a strange sickness that many could not even understand. She could neither move, eat or even speak. The sickness was threatening to unalive the princess. The news of their princess' ailment soon spread throughout the kingdom, with some saying maybe karma was taking its course because of the princess' arrogance and self-centeredness. Meanwhile, the king invited herbalists of great reputations from far and wide to cure his beautiful daughter of this strange sickness. They tried all their herbs on her, but this treatment seems to increase her suffering. But just when all hopes was lost, that was when something happened. In this kingdom, there was a very old woman. She too heard about the strange sickness troubling the princess, and so she came to the king with a solution. "My king, many years ago when I was just a little child, there was a flower my father told me about, a magic flower. The nectar from it has the ability to cure any sickness," she told him. "When I was small, The flowers were in some of the places, but now it is so rare you can't easily see it. But if you can find this flower, your daughter's problems are over, she continued. This news brought a glimmer of hope into the heart of the king, and immediately he made a decree throughout the land. He would marry the princess off to anyone who would bring him a rare flower and save the princess from the cool hands of death. This decree brought great joy to the hearts of all the young men in the kingdom. At least now they all have equal chances of winning the princess for themselves. So both the rich suitors from the faraway lands and even the poor men all went out in search of this rare flower. Following the descriptions of the flower given by the old woman, but well, finding this flower was not equally going to be as easy as they expected. They searched all the nooks and crannies of the kingdom, searched all the forests, and some of the bravest among them even ventured into the evil forest in search of this flower, but they all came back empty-handed, which broke the heart of the king. He just could not bear the thought of losing his only daughter. Meanwhile, there was an old man in this kingdom. He knew exactly where to get this rare flower. His name was Buhari, a rich merchant with 3 wives and grown-up children. He too dreamt of having Princess Amina for himself, but he knew he stood no chance of ever winning her hand in marriage. He was very old and he knew the princess would have rejected him right away, mock and rain abuses on him. But with the decree from the king, his hope of getting the princess was rekindled. He watched with a smile across his face. As a young man, always in the wrong direction in search of the flower, he went into the bush. He knew exactly where to find the flower. When he got to the sacred tree, he said some incantation.
O tree that gives life to all men, please I seek your flower. There's one more life you must save.
He spoke to the tree. Those were the exact words. Instantly, a magical flower sprouted at the base of the sacred tree. It was the rare magical flower of life. With hands shaking and a heart full of gratitude, he plucked the flower and took it to the king. The palace was heavy with anticipation. There was a loud silence. Everyone wondering, praying and hoping that the flower should work. Well, this was the moment of truth. The old woman took the sacred flower and with a silent prayer upon her lip, she brought it under the nursery of Princess Amina. For a moment nothing happened, but then suddenly she sneezed loudly and sat up like someone who has been woken from a very deep sleep. There was much jubilation throughout the kingdom. Their princess had been saved from the cool hands of death, and in a few days the princess was strong and healthy. She was very happy, but when she found out the king was marrying her off to an old man, she was very unhappy. She broke down in tears, begging her father to have a change of heart. "Papa, please do not marry me off to this old man. See all these young handsome men coming for my hand in marriage. Please allow me to choose one of them," she pleaded with the king, while sobbing softly. But the king was not moved by her tears.
I promise to give you out to any man who could save you from the ailment that was plaguing you. Now that you are healthy, you must marry him. You had all the time to choose a husband, but you refused.
He told her. Hey, before we jump right back into our story, today massive hug goes to Peter watching us from Kenya. Thank you very much for the love and support. Where are you watching us from? Type it in the comment sections so I can send you a hug in our next episode. Also, do not forget to subscribe to Anita Chocolate. Alright, back to our story. Princess Amina was very unhappy. Buhari did not come close to her definition of an ideal husband, but there was nothing she could do but to accept her fate. The marriage between Amina and Buhari was the talk of town. While some congratulated them, others felt he was just too old for her. The young suitors she has humiliated before could not help but chuckle to themselves. So after all her arrogance, see who she ended up with, they thought to themselves. After the whole marriage rites, Princess Amina followed her husband home. Back at Buhari's place, Amina was not entirely disappointed because even though he was an old man, he was an exceedingly wealthy merchant, loved and respected by the people. But despite his great success, there was a dark secret he was hiding from her, a secret that would bring tears to the eyes of Amina. On their marriage night, Amina was surprised that her husband did not even make any attempt to serve it hot to her all through the night. He slept off almost immediately. She was very surprised. She expected her husband to be all over her throughout the night because of her beauty and attractiveness. But reverse was the case. All the same, she wiped off all her concerns. Maybe he was too tired after the long celebration, she thought to herself, not knowing she was in great trouble. Soon, Amina started noticing something very off about Buhari. Their marriage was almost a full moon, but not once had he served it hot to her. He would leave home early in the morning to inspect many of his businesses. Later on, he would hang out with his friends, only to come back home late at night. Immediately after he took and ate his dinner, he would retreat into his inner chamber and doze off, leaving Amina to agonize all through the night. Amina was a very unhappy woman, even though she was married to a rich man and all her whims were granted. She was starving for attention and companionship of her husband. Her husband was already married to 3 women before her, and they have given birth to grown-up children for him. She too wanted to bear children of her own and experience the joy of motherhood, but all her hopes were dashed to the ground because her husband seems not to be interested in her. Little did she know that her husband's Odogu was no longer working, and this was going to pose a big problem. Amina, wondering what would be wrong, decided to take the bull by the horn. So that evening, she made up her mind to pay her husband a surprise visit in his bedchambers. She took her bath, sprayed on some exotic perfume, and put on a revealing nightwear. She quietly sneaked into her husband's bedchamber at night, only to be met by a rude shock. The moment Buhari noticed her presence in his room, he knew exactly what she wanted, and obviously he was not capable of serving it hot to her. So he pretended to be furious and commanded her to leave his room at once.
Madam, before I close my eyes and open it, you better fly out of my room. How dare you? Is this how your mother trained you? To be the first to meet your husband and be demanding clear from him? If you try this nonsense again in my house, we'll see the other side of me.
He threatened her, sending her out of his room. Amina was in shock. She cried bitterly all through the night. He had married the most sought-after lady in the kingdom, and he always carried her with him when he attended important occasions and parties. He saw her as a prize he has won, an addition to his many successes. Even though Princess Amina put up a smile in the public, deep down she was hurting. She regretted not choosing one of the many suitors who came to ask her hand in marriage. And by the years began to wear by, each passing day adding to the princess' agony. Her husband did not touch her even for one day. She complained to her mother the queen, but the response she received only brought more tears to her eyes. "My daughter, you just have to bear. You can't cheat on him, neither can you divorce him. It is against the tradition of our land. The only way you can marry another man is if he passes away," she told her. The villagers started gossiping about her. "She is very beautiful, but she can't even give birth to children." "Oh, maybe she is barren," some said. And soon Princess Amina got wind of the rumor about her, and she was very unhappy. Sometime when she is passing through the market square, some market women would start singing songs in parables, stories of women who were too proud to bear children for their husband, just because they want to stay young and beautiful. These songs were being directed at her. She ignored them. Well, the princess accepted her fate. Maybe the universe was punishing her for arrogance and misbehaving towards everyone. And just like so, 10 years went by. One early morning, a cry pierced the air. Buhari has passed on. He was already very old. Amina breathed a sigh of relief, even though she was very unhappy about the death of her husband. Now he was gone, she could finally remarry a much younger man, and after the whole necessary rites, Amina returned back to her parents' palace. By this time, she was a shadow of her former self. By this time, Amina was no longer a very young lady anymore. The numerous rich suitors were no longer coming to ask her hand in marriage. "She is a widow," they murmured among themselves. Even though Amina was unhappy, she knew she was paying for her mistakes. Finally, she got married to Ahmed, a widower, who has lost his wife to a strange ailment. Even though Ahmed was not the perfect man she wanted, she learned to love and respect him as her husband, and she bore 3 children for him. Amina's story spread throughout the village, and the young girls learned from her mistakes. They understood that arrogance and rudeness only lead to loneliness, and they vowed to be kind and humble. And so, the village of Zara became known for its beautiful hearts, not just beautiful faces. And thus, Princess Amina's tales became a lesson for all, reminding everyone that true beauty comes from within, and kindness is more valuable than good. Thank you for watching today's episode from Anita's Chocolate. Do well to check these other interesting stories from this channel. Meanwhile, do not forget to leave a like and tell me where you are watching the story from. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you in our next episode. Bye.